Thank you very much. So good morning everybody in the room and as well the participants who are virtually connected to this conference. Yeah, is the QR code the death of the 2D data matrix code? That was the question that I raised last year here at this conference, and because not everybody of you has had the opportunity to participate last year, let me start with a short recap of what I presented last year. So obviously that was not an example of the pharmaceutical industry, but I think an impressive one for the usage of QR codes. So what we looked at last year was where is industry, or where is my company Bayer using two-dimensional codes today, and we use both QR codes and as well as GS1 DataMatrix Code. We use QR, for example, for Australia to access electronic product information. We use it as well in the EU so that patients can access additional information to the products. We use as well DataMatrix Code for serialization clearly, but as well to access product information. So there is in Germany the development of the German Manufacturer Association VFA with a smartphone app, Gebrauchsinformation 4.0, GI 4.0. And there they make use of the serialized data matrix code that we have to apply on packs in Europe since February 2019. Similarly in Spain, there it's the authorities who have developed an app, as of today, surprisingly still only capable to read the linear barcodes on the packs. February 2019 is now 3.5 years gone, and still they are not capable to process 2D data matrix codes, but basically it's an easy IT development to enrich the smartphone app. And finally, we see the example in Japan, and they are together with Singapore and probably Australia the most advanced countries, I would say, because they allow to remove the paper-based leaflets from the packages as of August next year. And there is a development of an app of the manufacturer or the industry association together with the authorities to access the product information via the scanning of the, and that's the unfortunate piece in Japan, they have the GS1, chosen the GS1 composite code for product identification. So then we looked at the pros and cons of QR versus 2D data matrix. So QR, clearly it's easy to scan with the smartphone cameras. It's known to consumers. You see it everywhere in the supermarket. So people, if they see a QR code, they have the idea, yes, I can scan that and get additional information. Disadvantages include that these QR codes point to a fixed web address. There are possibilities to surround that, but in the first run, they point to a fixed web address, and it's a second code on the pack, in addition to the serialized data matrix code that we have introduced, for example, in Europe for serialization. On the other hand, let's look on the 2D data matrix code. In Europe and other countries is already there, so therefore the question comes up, couldn't we use it for other purposes as well? Or in the countries where we don't have the GS1 data matrix, we have usually at least a linear EIN code. So this one code can serve multiple purposes, and we should try to use that. The downside, it requires a dedicated app, and consumers are not used to scan linear barcodes or to scan GS1 data matrix codes. So it requires education of the consumers to download the app and to learn that they should scan the code to access product information. So what's the GS1 position? And that's a slide that is almost the same as I presented last year, with a slight difference in the second line. You see in December 2021, GS1 published their position paper. So I knew it already in September last year, but I couldn't talk about it. So last year I presented it as the buyer position, which was actually the GS1 position already at that time, but not published. And GS1, in GS1 Healthcare, we have clearly said that the GS1 DataMatrix Code shall be the data carrier of choice for product identification. And QR code shall not be used for product identification. Now it comes to additional information like product information. How shall this be accessed? And there, the position of GS1 Healthcare is to say, yeah, either it shall be done via the existing linear or 2D data matrix codes, through using dedicated apps, or adding a QR code in addition to the linear or the 2D data matrix code to directly access product information. And then furthermore, they have developed a standard, the digital link, how the web address in the QR code should be expressed to access the product information. So, and you will see this in the handout, so I'm not going through each of the lines. You see on this slide as well the values of electronic product information, so all good. So why aren't we there? Yeah, we have to use the GS1 data matrix or the linear barcode to access product information. There are some front-runner implementations, but adoption in the countries with rollout of the apps is simply not quick enough. Yeah, and we see it on the next slides, yeah, we see in a lot of countries popping up pilots using QR codes. And that's where I now come to the second part of my presentation. So, if we look at the world today, and I already mentioned there are front-runner countries, Japan, Australia, and here a small cycle, Singapore. They already allow for removing the paper-based leaflets and accessing product information via barcode scanning. You see some countries surrounded in red because these are countries who are giving access to product information via QR code, which clearly comes with the downside of having two barcodes on the packs. So Japan is a good example because they have this dedicated app. Australia not that good with the QR code. Likewise Singapore. Then you see in many countries in Europe, there we have hospital pilots. They are somewhat different because the hospital sector tells us they anyway don't look into the paper-based leaflets. Therefore, they can be removed and do not need to be replaced by something. The hospital pharmacists, they get their information through other routes. So in these hospital pilots in Europe, it's just removing the paper with no replacement. And then you see a lot of countries in blue where certain activities are going on or going to be started. And you see highlighted Saudi Arabia. They are going to develop a dedicated app using then the GS1 DataMatrix Code. Egypt going to implement QR. Brazil, as a very large country, going to implement QR. Actually stopped in April serialization and replace it now with QR. So a new challenge. So that's around the globe. Now a very concrete example, the Ukraine use case. We all know about the war in the Ukraine, and just this morning you may have heard that Russia has announced the mobilization or part mobilization of their troops. So we see that a lot of refugees from Ukraine come to neighboring countries, in particular Poland, and the idea of the companies and the industry was how can we support these refugees who now get a treatment in Poland, but all the leaflets are in Polish language, so the Ukrainian patients are not capable to read what they get. And there the idea came up to translate the Polish leaflets into Ukrainian and distribute this information. And we distribute it in two ways. So the first example is, and you see an example on the right-hand side, we just place it on our website. So we have translated the leaflets, and I'm very proud to say that we were pretty quick, because already 2 weeks after Russia invaded into Ukraine, we started this project with compiling a list of the key products where we wanted to have translations, then clarify with authorities which leaflets to use, whether we could use the Ukrainian leaflets, and it was pretty clear that we have to use the Polish leaflets and translate it into Ukraine, because in detail they might differ from the leaflets that the products have in Ukraine. Then translate them into Ukrainian, and I was very impressed that in particular one colleague in this in view of the war in her country, sitting in Kiev, was willing to translate these Polish leaflets or to review so the translations were made by a translation company, but this colleague in Kiev then checked the translation and corrected them. We built the website, and already in the mid of May we were able to publish for a list of, in the meantime, I think 20 or 25 products, the translations on our website. And finally, so my regulatory colleagues actually got internally awarded for this very quick implementation. But that's the old style. Yeah? That was good, and is good, yeah, because we could quickly give access, but it still requires you have to go to the website. So the idea was to have a real, what I call the real EPI use case, namely using an app or giving access via barcode scanning. And here it was clear we need to use the GS1 DataMatrix Code, because the product is already in the market in Poland, so there is no option to put a QR code, even if we want. There is no option to put a QR code on the pack, because this would require to manually label, or maybe in machines, but to relabel the products. To put a QR code on, this requires approval of the health authorities, so that was definitely not an option. We needed to find a solution where we can make use of the GS1 DataMatrix Code that is anyway already on the packs. And we found that solution in a working group at FPR, the European Federation of Pharmaceutical Industries, of the research-based industry, together with Johnson & Johnson. They developed an app last year, and I believe it was more a presentation type app for presenting at conferences, and then said, yeah, but it's fully functional, so we can offer that for the usage in this Ukraine use case. We had GS1 Global and GS1 Germany on board. So what we have implemented is the GS1 resolver concept, and you see it on if we look at the slide from the left to the right. So you have the packs with the GS1 DataMatrix Code. You have to download the app from the App Store, and if you want to do it, so the QR codes in the right edge, they link to the app stores of Apple and Google, so you can download them. Scan the data matrix code, and the app is connected to the GS1 Germany resolver, and so the yellow one, and in the yellow one we maintain the information for each GTIN where on our website the product information is located. And the first thought to make a real live presentation, but then I thought it's not that impressive, because what you would see, and I have just made screenshots, you open the app on the left-hand side, you scan the data matrix code, then it shows you the content of the data matrix code with GTIN, expiry date, batch, and serial number. Yeah? And if you click the More button, you get displayed the leaflet in Ukrainian language. So I would say, pretty successful. What were the learnings? So I already said these packs were already in the market. We could make use of the data matrix codes that were already on the packs. And beyond the example that we now have and that we would have wished not to have, namely to support refugees, clearly this project is as well an opportunity to showcase that this concept with the smartphone app and the GS1 resolver works. The obstacles, it needed more than 5 months to adapt the existing smartphone. It was already fully functional, but then we had to make changes for the particular Ukrainian case. So it took more than a little bit more than 5 months to get everything running. Yeah. We all entered into a new vein in terms of contractual things. Yeah. So every participating company had to sign a contract with Johnson & Johnson and a contract with GS1, and of course these contracts have to be set up, and the lawyers have their voice in that, and this extends things. As I already mentioned earlier, it requires a promotion campaign in the market to educate the patients to download the smartphone app. And finally, which I probably consider the most important argument on the obstacle side, is there are only a few companies participating. We have now 7 or 8 companies participating with a subset of their product portfolio. So there are no generics companies joining so far, although they are invited. So what will be the patient experience? The patient experience of a Ukrainian refugee in Poland is highly likely to be, I have learned that there is a smartphone app to download. I have downloaded this app. I scan the data matrix code, and the app tells me there is no information about it. If we would have done it with QR, and I clearly say QR was not an option, with QR, every company is free to do what they want. We don't depend on other companies, on generics, on other research-based companies. We can do it for our products on our own. Nonetheless, here, as I said, the GS1 DataMatrix Code was the only carrier that could be used, and it was good that we had it and that we could implement the situation. But now, if we look a little bit in the future, is this ready for rollout? So, and we are engaging, and we means Bayer, but as well industry is engaging with authorities to make electronic product information happen in Europe. That's the landscape that we envisage and that we advocate for when we talk with health authorities. We advocate for a solution where on the right-hand side we have a single EU electronic product information repository, most likely to be hosted by the European Medicines Agency, EMA, that can be accessed either via web browsers, here via a laptop, computer, or via a smartphone resolver setup, where we have one resolver for the EU, and we have a set of smartphone apps as shown here on the left-hand side of the slides. That's what we are engaged for. But let's be realistic. What might we have to envisage as a future landscape? And I say, probably it's this one. We will have a set of repositories here shown on the right-hand sides, because manufacturers already have their repositories. It's likely that they want to keep them. They don't want to give them up. We might have the one EU repository at EMA for the centrally registered products, but they will quickly say we are not responsible for the naturally registered products. We are not responsible for the MRP DCP products. We will have, as at the top, repositories hosted by the health authorities. Spain, they have it. They won't give up that. I don't believe that. They want to keep that. And finally, we have repositories like in Germany with the GI 4.0, Rote Liste Verlag. We have FAS in Sweden. We have a solution in Norway. Do we really believe they are all of them say, no, we transfer it all into the single European repository? I doubt that. So we will have a set of repositories. We will have one resolver? Probably not, because for making this working, manufacturers will have their own resolver services. These companies, if they adopt the approach with GS1 Digital Link, will have their resolver services. EMA will have one, Spain might have one. On the left-hand side, we have all the smartphone apps, and now the question for the smartphone app is, to which repository shall I route the request? And it is not that the information will be in one place. Yeah? So it could be that for a centrally registered product, the information is in the EMA repository, but as well in the buyer repository, because they have the centrally registered, we have all buyer products. So there are two sources of information. How shall the smartphone app know where to go? So this brings two major technical questions. The one is, that I already mentioned, is to which resolver should go the request. The other one is, who ensures the correctness of the digital link in the resolvers? Who ensures that buyer, not intentionally, but just by mistake, maintains a link for a Pfizer GTIN? Yeah? So that we enter a Pfizer GTIN and it points to a buyer product. How do we ensure that? That's, for me, it's an open question that as of today, I haven't found anybody who can answer that. So, the conclusions. We see a lot of QR code pilots popping up around the world. And they are quickly, QR for EPI is a risk in that it might quickly pervade the market. On the other hand, in GS1, we engage for a one barcode position where we say, actually, each pack should only have one barcode, carry only one barcode, and this should be used for multiple purposes. But the quick rollout of QR pilots in the world puts this one barcode position at risk. And for me, it's a race. It's a race between the QR code and the DataMatrix code. And I believe that if we, as stakeholders, in particular industry, but bottom line all stakeholders, do not engage for three things, then QR code will win the race. And the three things are, we need to engage for that smartphone apps are developed. We need to engage for that these technical hurdles are overcome, that these technical questions that I had, to which resolver service to point, and how to ensure correctness of the digital links in the resolver services, a solution, conceptual solution needs to be brought. And finally, we need to achieve that as well, not only research-based industry, but as well generics industry adopts the approach of GS1 DataMatrix as the single barcode on the pack. Otherwise, it will be the QR code that will win the race. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
No, a question maybe to add. About your last thing. I think, again, it's about people and patience. Because the real reason why QR is winning the world, because we are looking to the functionality, and everybody wants to have the leaflets, because it resolves some things, you can't get rid of paper, it's all about money. But we have to think about the healthcare professional, what they need. And they want to have the expiry date, and they want to have the batch number. And they want to have, say we want to solve that that we prevent them to make errors in the dispensing. And that's where the GS1 DataMatrix comes into place, and where you cannot use the QR code. I will present this afternoon also for what is happening now, for example, in India, where they want to use the QR code for all kinds of different things. And I think we should really focus on why we are implementing this. It is for the patient. And if we make that, then we can ensure that the race is won by the GS1 DataMatrix. Otherwise, the QR code will win.
And personally, I have I've presented it. So, for me, the electronic product information is clearly for the patient. No, the healthcare professional, neither the doctor nor the pharmacist, none of them looks into the leaflet. So it's for the patient. So we have two different use cases. And we try to achieve the two different use cases with the same data carrier. And I've presented the barriers, and in particular with the retail sector, going 2D and most likely going into QR, two-dimensional QR coding in the next 5 years, I really see, as I presented, a major risk for this one barcode position with the GS1 DataMatrix. That can be overcome if we jointly engage for it.
Any other questions?
Anna from German Medicines Manufacturers Association. We are also advocating for the electronic information leaflet also on the European level, because I think we have to make sure that we don't have both at the end, a paper version and an electronic paper leaflet. I just have a question, because I think like the DataMatrix code has one advantage. You can connect the badge to the leaflet. I think if you are tracking changes in the production or from the regulatory side, for example, you have a change in the excipients on the one hand, but on the other hand you have a change, pharmacovigilance change, then you could really connect the leaflet information. So I was just asking myself what would be the better version for Europe. I think it's a DataMatrix code, but this is perhaps a discussion which depends on what you're focusing. But I think it would be good to have one option only in whole Europe and not different ones.
And I fully agree to what you say. And as I said, the GS1 DataMatrix definitely shall be the data carrier to identify the product. And this includes the information about the batch. But let's make the example concrete. I get tablets, so I need a hip replacement. And if it hurts too much, I get tablets. And it's from a research-based pharmaceutical company. So if I use GI 4.0, the app in Germany, then I can access the leaflet. Unfortunately, I don't get the original product. I get the parallel traded product. So not the generics one, I get the parallel traded product. Actually, and I saw it, it's the original product imported from Italy by a parallel importer into Germany. It has a different GTIN, or in Germany has a different NTIN. I don't find this leaflet in GI 4.0 because this parallel trader does not participate in GI 4.0. And that's clearly the downside from a patient perspective. I don't get access to the e-pill.
But the question is, we know what the problem is now. The question is, what is the solution? So how can we make these a lot of different elements? You have the vendors, you have the governments, different things. How can be their solution to come up to that we don't adding with this, everybody does whatever it does and then nothing will work. So what is your view on this? What we need to do in order as an industry? Is it the governments we need to convince, or is it the big vendors like you guys? How can that work?
For me, the first step is to openly talk about it, as I did today. Because I see many people running around having the GS1 DataMatrix shield above their head or in front of them. And we want GS1 DataMatrix. We want GS1 DataMatrix. And with that, we don't advance at all. We see the QR pilots popping up, and they will quickly win, as I said, they will win the race. So first of all, we need to talk about it. And now we are coming back to the first talks, it quickly gets technical. So we need to be willing to talk about technical things and not always on the surface. We need not to deep dive, but at least 2 steps go into technology, and then to say, okay, we understand that there are challenges, and once we accept that there are challenges, then we can work jointly together to resolve that. I'm pretty sure there are people who have ideas for resolving this problem that Bayer does not use a Pfizer GTIN in the resolver service. I don't have the idea. I haven't heard about anybody, but we saw it on the slide in the first presentation from Will Smith, who said, the problem that you have, for sure anybody else has already had it. In this particular case, I believe that. This is a problem that for sure exists somewhere else in the world. At the moment where we talk about it, we will find people who can help us to resolve the problem.
And then on personal things, by the way, I was always frustrated that PHARMA, because I come out is so slow. What you have done with for the Ukrainian in that time, congratulations to Bayer. You know, something really in a short time. So, you know, kudos to you and to Bayer. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And now.